So Casper de Vires versus Vet Davis. Obviously, this is a big fight for someone like Casper, who's in this position to get a title shot. As well as that division is pretty damn hard to get up to, so we're trying to see where he can go. Now, you have a guy like Vet Davis, who is a very formidable fighter, who is only 1-0 right now. So how do we get on track? How do we get this fight to one of those title shot situations? Now, if I'm not mistaken, Vet made his debut at RBC 12. I think he beat Hyper. I don't fully know that decision yet, but I mean, Casper de Vires came back. He beat Flex, unanimous decision, first fight. That was his last fight, I believe. So he's showing very much improvement. This has been a very good road for him so far, but we'll see where he goes next. I think another fight I can look back on is an open fight night when he beat Dallas Johnson in the second round. I don't have anything else. But let's talk about that division. Welterweight. Welterweight is interesting because you have that undisputed champion whose name is, Kruzaro. The guy who beat the greatest of all time. The guy who just defeated Triple Paul. The guy's beaten pretty much every name in the welterweight division and has sent prospects back and again. So it's very interesting because we have a guy who is this unstoppable, this Kruzaro, who's a truly unstoppable force. He probably the most dominant, not really dominant champion. He's faced much adversity. This is a guy who is different from all these other dominant fighters. Because we have Bugatti, who just finishes dudes in a round or two. But then you got guys like this guy, Kruzaro. Adjusting is one of the big things about him. I think he did that in both Khalif fights. He really prepares for his opponents. That's what I think I'm trying to get out here. So you have that champion in that division. Well, then you also have a bunch of contenders. You have SSI. You obviously have Casper. You have a few guys in that division that can really try to make a push for the title shot. I think Abdullah West is even trying to get up there. And then you have a guy named Jakub Bienkowski, who just happened to move down to that division and wants a title shot. Well, he's got to win at least one fight. I think that's the unanimous verdict about that argument. But at this point, you're looking at a champion that basically has the future laid out for him, unless something changes. Now let's talk about Vet Davis for a second. Does he get a title shot if he wins? Probably not. But here's where you set it up. I'm not assuming that Bienkowski's fighting anytime soon. What I am going to assume is the winner of this fight fights Jakub Bienkowski. The winner of that fight fights for the title. That is what I'm thinking. I don't know. If Jakub does end up fighting in Japan, then that completely changes the entire concept I'm trying to put out here. But if he isn't, then there you go. That's your perfect title fight. That is the fight you need. That's the fight you would probably want if you're Raymondo. Because it's a win-win scenario. You have Kruzaro that's going to sit up there and probably fight SSI at some point. So let's say you get the winner of Vet Davis and Casper de Vires. Vet Davis wins, you obviously have to get that one more title shot. If you're Casper de Vires, put the interim title on the line. If Kruzaro won't be fighting for a good bit against Jakub Bienkowski, that's how you get it to be a main event. That'd be a great main event. I would love to watch that. And it's all about the record at that point. Now let's talk about where we see this from Jakub's standpoint. Both matches are very favorable for you. Obviously, Jakub's a knockout artist, one of the best we've ever seen. As middleweight, he was knocking people out. So if he can move down, the chin will obviously be an issue, but the knockout power won't. If he makes welterweight, knockout power is even more substantial. You're talented at middleweight. You were one of the most dominant champions ever. At one time, you were considered to be arguably one of the greatest of all time. A win-win scenario for you, you can fight any of these two guys, and it's going to make you big bucks. You are going to like having this fight. That's all for that title shot. It's all to get to one dude, and that is Kruzaro. Can he do it 100%? He will probably win. But don't overshadow these two guys. Vet Davis and Casper DeVires. Casper DeVires especially with a great win over Flex. That was one he absolutely needed. Yes, it was pretty damn close, but Flex is a pretty damn good fighter. So now we get to this position where you have these two guys who have the experience. Well, Vets has one fight under his belt, but still, the experience does help to some extent. And the tank, he can take a lot of punches. We'll see how this goes. I think the question we all need to be asking is, what does this fight mean for Jakub and Kruzaro? That's all I'm trying to ask here.